So we've learned about point source pollution. Let's talk about what we can do to kind of abate it. Now, the Clean Water Act does a really great job. There are a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, and they're really doing an effective job in regulating industry. But you and me are point source polluters as well. Our wastewater. Yes, our wastewater goes to a water treatment plant, but whatever contaminants and pollutants that the wastewater treatment plant can't get out is our responsibility. We're the ones that are wasting it. So let's talk about our waste that we do that helps contribute to point source pollution and some alternatives to it. So first up, let's think about nutrients. Remember, there's a lot of different sources of nutrients in our water bodies, and you and I can do quite a bit to help in reducing those nutrients. So first off, thinking about soaps, particularly detergents, such as laundry detergent or dish detergent. Detergents are made with phosphates. Now, phosphates themselves aren't dangerous. That's why it's okay to use it in your clothes and in your dishwasher. It's a really good soap. It's really good at removing dirt and grime and grease. However, the root of phosphate is phosphorus. This is a nutrient. This is something that can contribute to algae blooms. And so what you can do is invest in soaps and detergents that are phosphate free. Now, here in the state of Maryland, it's helped a little bit. There has been regulations that have passed that has banned the sale of phosphorus, at least in dish detergents. So at least when you're buying laundry detergent, take a look at the labels and see if you can find any phosphate-free detergents. Now, you might be concerned that it might not wash your clothes as great as you'd want it to be, and that's totally a possible thing. But you could always buy a small container of a phosphate-free soap and see how it compares. Maybe it's good enough for you. Another way that we can reduce our nutrient waste is thinking about food waste. There's a couple ways to tackle this. One, try not to waste food as it is. Buy only what you need. Use containers to put things in the fridge. Eat leftovers, blah, blah, blah. But let's say you have a rind of an orange. You don't want to eat that, or an eggshell. Some people might be in the habit of putting it down the sink and using the garbage disposal, which, keep in mind, is still part of your water. It's still going to your wastewater. Instead, you should ideally compost, but if you're not composting, that's totally fine. At least put those scraps in the trash. Now, for both of these things, you might be thinking, well, there's a wastewater treatment plant. Like, why does it matter if I put in less nutrients if they're just going to remove them? Wastewater treatment plants are not 100% effective. If 100 units of phosphorus come in, there might be 5 or 6 units that go out. So, pretty good, but not perfect. But if less units are coming in, if 50 come in, then maybe only 2 or 3 are going out. It's the same ratio, it's the same percentage, but there's just less to clean. And there's less to clean, that means less is going to end up in the environment. So just keeping in mind that wastewater treatment plants are not perfect. If you recall from an earlier video, another way we get nutrients in our wastewater is from human waste. Our pee, and our poop as well, but we'll just focus on pee. Our pee has nutrients. So you may have heard the saying, if it's yellow, keep it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. It's about, like, if there's pee in the bowl, like, don't flush it, just leave it there. But I didn't mention it in this slide, so I have a question for you. Would peeing in the toilet multiple times before flushing, so just peeing into pee water, would it help with the problem of reducing nutrients? Keeping in mind that our pee does have nitrogen waste in it. So pause here in 3, 2, 1. I hope you thought about it and didn't just like continue with the video. Hopefully, as you were thinking through this, you thought, you know what? No, that wouldn't make sense, right? Like it wouldn't reduce nutrients because there's still nutrients in it. Like you peed once, it has 5 units of nitrogen. You pee again, well, now there's 10 units of nitrogen. peeing in it multiple times is not going to change the waste amount. It just changes how much waste goes into the system at once. And your wastewater treatment system probably has thousands upon thousands of people, so whether you do it all at once or, a few hours apart probably doesn't matter. It does make an impact with water consumption, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Another way that we can contribute or not contribute to point source pollution is thinking about where we're putting things we need to get rid of, and really want to emphasize just proper waste disposal. The problem at wastewater treatment plants is wastewater treatment plants are expecting pee, poop, and toilet paper, right? And I should say soaps as well. Like, they're expecting that. The processes at a wastewater treatment plant are optimized for those things because that's what's going to come down your toilet. That's what's going to come out of your shower. That's what's going to come out of your dishwasher. So the problem starts happening when so people that have toilets, that have sinks, put things in those drains that a wastewater treatment plant is not designed to clean. This isn't to say some of the stuff wouldn't come out because of the other processes that are done, but not everything will, because different types of waste have special ways to discard of them. So this slide is all about, here's items that people sometimes put down drains that you really shouldn't be putting down drains. I'm going to start on the right-hand side. So motor oil, paint. I'm just going to use chemicals in general. Again, wastewater treatment plant, not designed to break down motor oil. A lot of those things can just be taken to a hazardous waste disposal center. So do not put those down your drain. Pharmaceuticals and medicines. I blame TV and movies for this one, because in TV and movies, you've got the son or the daughter who's been failing out of high school and apparently has a drug problem, and the dad finds the drugs and like throws them into the toilet and flushes them down. You've seen that scene. But that is cool. Don't do that. Like, wastewater treatment plants are not designed to clean pharmaceuticals, which are microscopic, which dissolve in water, right? They dissolve into your body on a molecular scale. You don't want molecular pharmaceuticals in our water. Because here's the thing. Maybe you're thinking, you're like, well, it's wastewater. It's, even if the wastewater treatment plant doesn't clean it out, it's just going into the environment. I don't really care. But here's the problem. Remember, our drinking water is taken out of the environment. Not only are these chemicals not optimized for in a wastewater treatment plant, they're also not optimized in a drinking water filtration plant. So if water is coming out of the Potomac River and there's a whole bunch, sorry, there was a moth. If water is being taken out of the Potomac River and there's a lot of pharmaceutical residue, our drinking water plants can't remove that. Now, I don't want to scare you and be like, oh my God, we're going to die from this. There are trace amounts of pharmaceuticals in our water supply. Let's keep it at trace. Let's keep it at non-existent. So if you have medications or you have drugs or you have something you need to get rid of, nearly every single police station will actually take those things back. If you don't want it in your house. So in your house, ideally just put it in the trash can. But in that scenario, in that movie where it's like, oh, your child's a drug addict, like you put it in the trash can, they'll take it out. That's when you might want to be like, okay, we're going to take it to a police station. No questions asked. There's drop boxes. Really, really easy process. All right, last one. Oh, this is a big culprit. And I'm looking at y'all through the screen because I know you are out there. Disposable wipes, baby wipes, wet ones, bleach wipes, all those wipes, do not put them in your toilets. It's so easy to, right? Because maybe you're using it like at the toilet. You're like, this is how I get nice and fresh and clean. And it might be so tempting to put it in your toilet. And even it might say on it, flushable. And you're like, flushable. In fairness, they are flushable, but here's the problem. Toilet paper, if you've ever gotten water on toilet paper, you know it dissolves like instantly. These wet wipes don't. They don't dissolve at all. They travel through miles and miles of pipes. And by the time they get to the wastewater treatment plant, it's still a wet wipe. Your poop disintegrates. Your toilet paper disintegrates. But wet ones and other wipes still exist. So the wastewater treatment plant has to constantly clean out the water of these wipes. That costs money. The bigger issue is something called a fatberg. And I'm not going to explain it too much because there's going to be a video popping up here soon that shows you. If you are currently eating while watching this video, I would encourage you to stop eating. You need to watch this YouTube video that's going to be linked, but you probably don't want to be eating while you watch it because it's just gross. The point is, or you know what? No, let's go watch the video. So there's going to be a link popping up above me. Pause this video and go watch that. Right? Super disgusting. So these wipes, because they don't disintegrate, and fats, also something you should not be putting down your sink, particularly bacon grease. I say particularly because that's like the one that I always think of that like will solidify. Sure, it's a liquid in your pan, but then it solidifies, and it solidifies in a pipe, and it will catch onto larger debris like wet ones, and then, oh, you're spending so much money in replacing pipes. And pipes pretty much run underneath your cities, your houses, your neighborhoods, and so you're gonna have crews there for weeks destroying the road, blocking off the roads. Like, it becomes an inconvenience when you think about actually having to like navigate somewhere, and you, the taxpayer, pay for this. Like, if you don't want your taxes to raise, stop making them spend money on things you do. There's a lot of shows that also talk about fatbergs if you ever want to explore it more. So, moral of the story, if it ain't pee, if it ain't poop, if it ain't toilet paper, just don't put it down any of the drains in your home. Last but not least, this one's a little bit more abstract-ish, is reducing water consumption. Now, the reason I say this is a little bit more abstract is whether the pollutants are there or, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. Remember earlier when I said that like, oh, if you pee like once versus twice before flushing it, it doesn't matter. It's the same amount of pollutants. But now I'm saying, hey, we should reduce the amount of water. Here's why. When you send water to a wastewater treatment plant, they insert chemicals into it. Not a lot, but they do insert things like chlorine into it. There's a step later on that removes chlorine, but there's still some chlorine left behind. So you just using water, even if it's really clean water, if you're like, oh, I washed my hands, but my hands were pretty clean anyway, that water still has to get officially cleaned at the wastewater treatment plant. It's going to go through all of the steps as all the other water in that system, which means the more water that you produce, the more water you consume, the more water you put down a drain, the more water that has to get cleaned, meaning the more chemicals that are getting used, the more electricity that's getting used, the more resources that are getting used, and the more pollutants, cleaning pollutants, get released. Is it a lot? No. But again, you're on lines with thousands upon hundreds of thousands, depending on where you are, maybe even millions of people. And so any little bit that you can do and that everyone can do can reduce the amount of cleaning materials used by a lot. To talk about just briefly some ways you've probably learned tons as a kid, like, oh, when you're brushing your teeth, like turn your water off. Good idea. I'm not going to expand on it more. Use your dishwasher. So I know some more, I'll say traditional families are like, I should hand wash everything, even though they have a dishwasher. Because there's this rooted idea that hand washing is more efficient than dishwashing. And frankly, that's not true. If you are hand washing appropriately, aka waiting for the water to get warm, scrubbing it, rinsing it, and doing that for every single dish, you're going to use tons more water hand washing than you would for a dishwasher. The only time hand washing is as efficient as dishwashing is if, imagine everything that fits in a dishwasher. You had all of that in your sink. You use tubs to put like dirty dishes and then like a tub for rinsing. If you had all of this, which more or less, you're just a dishwasher. Like you have a whole bunch of dishes at once and like wash it and then rinse it. Use your dishwasher. And especially today, like if you have an energy efficient model, then the water savings is even more like significantly different. So take advantage of your dishwasher, you guys. You're welcome. Some other systems that are out there. So this is a rain barrel system. This is a huge rain barrel system. You can have much smaller ones, but essentially taking advantage of the water that falls on your impervious roof. Instead of it going straight into the ground, straight into the grass, or if you have a gutter that goes onto your driveway into a storm drain, collect that water instead. And this would be really great water, especially if you have a garden or grass you're watering or what have you. Really great way to water your plants and whatnot without having to use water from your hose. Another type of system that's pretty cool, it's called a gray water system, gray like the color. Gray water refers to water that has been reused. So this is an example of a system, lots of them exist, where here is your sink. The sink drains into the toilet. So if your toilet bowl is filled with clean drinking water, you shouldn't drink it, but it is clean drinking water. Well, instead of being filled with clean drinking water, you turn on the tap, you wash your hands, it's soapy, maybe a little bit dirty water, it goes into your toilet bowl. You probably don't care if you pee into pristine drinking water or if you pee into like once used water. If you do care, I wouldn't even say you have first world problems. You've got like heaven problems. I don't even know what you would call that. So taking advantage of water that you're using elsewhere in your home and using that in the toilet can save a lot of money. I mean, toilets are one of, or the number one way that we use water in our homes. Corporate buildings, a lot more newer environmentally friendly buildings, take advantage of gray water systems. So you can do it small scale, but you're more likely to run into this on the large scale. So there you have it. So remember, corporations and industries, they're the big culprits when it comes to point source pollution. But you and I were not excused. We contribute based on the waste coming out of our homes. Avoid putting the not. Only put pee, only put poop and toilet paper and, puke. You put that on there too. Only put those down your drains. Do not put anything else down your drains. They do not belong there, and our systems are not efficient enough in order to accommodate for all these random things that people might put down their drain. And also, if you're able to, just reduce the amount of water you're using in the first place.